break.
It's break time, brother.
We opened up with a zinger today. Just anyway, guys, we're going to talk tonight about the Iran deal, the deal of a lifetime, in the words of our president. We're going to take a little bit look at that. We got Ron Edwards from the Edwards Notebook joining us in the second hour, and we'll see how this all pans out. So stay with us right here on the Conservative Syndicate. We'll be right back. You can catch all our show archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Attention taxpayers. If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted financial expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known and syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time, firsthand, from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Bob airs live every Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on blogtalkradio.com. Okay, hey, we're back. That was a little bit early. We're back right here on the Conservative Syndicate. Sorry about that, guys. I hit a button in the wrong way. I was dragging a track over, and I hit the button. What I did was I laid it on top of the commercial, so it just automatically kicked in. Anyway,
Laid it, man.
It's that kind of a day. My technical dyslexia kicks in sometimes without me even knowing it. But anyway, we're here on the Conservative Syndicate. I'm John Matthews, your host. Mad prophet of the airways on a mission from God, and that mission is to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. I've got Joe Hakos from Dry Report, my co-host, and before we get into our main topic of the night, see, one of the things we're starting to do in this show that a lot of other shows don't do is that we take a topic and we spend enough time on it until such time that we feel that everybody has a grasp of what's going on. We're not just going to give you the 5-minute version or the 30-second soundbite like mainstream media, or the 5-minute version as you get on something like Fox News. We cover something until we feel that it's out there to such a degree that you can use the information for something other than just screaming at the top of your lungs, wondering what the hell is going on.
Well, you could still scream at the top of your lungs, wondering what the hell is going on. That'd be okay, I guess.
Yeah, but
it's a release, John.
It gives that scream some substance because you actually know what you're screaming about.
Yes, there you go.
Okay,
yeah.
So that's the intent and purpose of this, and we're going to spend some time tonight talking about the deal of a lifetime. I think maybe that's what Barack Obama can do when he gets out of the White House. If he doesn't take over the UN, maybe he can replace the guy on Let's Make a Deal. Or what's the
Wayne Brady?
Drew Carey on The Price is Right, something like that. I was looking around today as I was waiting for the movie to start, kind of thumbing through my phone, doing the one thing they tell you not to do, have your phone on in the theater.
Oh, you rebel.
Yeah. But I understand enough to know that, hey, all you have to do is turn the volume down, turn the ringtone off, and everything is cool. Nobody even notices what you're doing. But I'm thumbing through there just trying to, I actually like to open up the show with kind of offbeat topics or things that aren't so intense, just kind of loosen everybody up. And I ran across this article by a gentleman named Kenrick Ward on an organization called watchdog.org. And actually, I scored an interview with him. He'll be with us next week, Monday or Tuesday. I haven't decided yet. But he published an article about True the Vote. True the Vote, as most of you know, is kind of like a watchdog group in terms of campaigns and voting and violations and stuff like that. Very similar to what Karen Sigmund and Rage Against the Media does, only True the Vote is more about the electoral process, okay? And True the Vote Executive Director Catherine Engelbrecht did a study. Her and some other people did a study and discovered out of 28 states that they looked at in terms of voter rolls. They went out and audited and were able to do cross-checks on the voter rolls. Involved the program that she did, the cross-check she did, was 28 states. It excluded the largest states, California, Texas, and Florida, I guess where most of the voters hang out. And what she found, things like duplicate registration, which allows people to vote more than once. Now, there's different types of duplicate registration. What they mostly refer to is people that are multi-registered in different states.
Yes.
You'll remember, I think, in the 2014 campaign, I know in the 2012 campaign, there were actually a couple of candidates that had to drop out because they were registered in more than one state. I believe there was a senator or somebody running for Senate up in Maryland, and I think one in Florida. There was a couple that I just, off the top of my head, I remember somewhere during their campaign they had to bail out because it was discovered that they... the one in Maryland especially, I think she was registered in 3 states, and she had voted in all 3 states.
That's awesome.
Yeah. This is somebody running for an elected position, okay? And so she's saying what they found was 6,951,484 duplicate voter registrations within these 28 states. People that were registered in more than one state to vote, she doesn't say if they voted or not. She's just saying this is what we found. Okay. Let's see here. What else she says in here? The few conversations. Okay, what they're talking about. Vicious cycle, blah, blah, blah. Registrations. Oh, and it all has a lot to do with the majority of the problems, believe it or not, is because people are being registered to vote at DMVs.
No.
Yeah, so you go in and get your license. Now, here's how I'm speculating here, but I imagine this is how it would happen. You get a voter that, let's say somebody is registered to vote when they were like 21 years old, and they've never really voted, or they don't vote. They voted maybe once or twice. They voted in 2008 for Obama in 2012, but they haven't voted since then or before then, okay? And what happens is they go down and renew their license, and one of two things happen. They check the box without reading it. Do you want to register to vote? Or somebody says, oh, do you want to register to vote or whatever? And they go, well, gee, I can't remember if I'm registered to vote. I don't know if I'm registered or not. And the clerk would say to them, well, go ahead and register anyway, just to make sure, that kind of thing. Okay?
Yeah.
I can see that happening out here in California, because most of the people that work on the DMV are just as dumb as the people standing at the counters. Most of our DMV are filled with affirmative action employees. Okay, these are people that couldn't quite hack it at Kmart, so let's give them a government job. That kind of thing.
Oh my goodness, John.
If you work at the DMV, you may be the nicest person in the world. I have a couple of friends that work at the DMV. So if you're listening to me, I'm not talking about you because I know you're smart, but I'm talking about majority people. I'm talking about the people that I normally meet when I go up to the counter at DMV. Where they kind of give you this, open grave eye stare look when you ask them a question, and they just go read the form,
You're number 99. Get back line.
Yeah. Anyway, another way they do it is that when they go to register at the DMV, they have an address change, and for some reason the DMV picks up that address change and will send out a duplicate ballot. Mail-in ballot. See, here's the problem with all this stuff. We're talking about the idea that people now can vote by mail, people can vote early by mail, and people, I guess, according to the system now, the way people are registering, they can be registered more than once because their addresses might change. A simple thing like an address change. I guess nobody's figured out, maybe the same people that created the Obamacare website created the DMV, not to cross-check names. You know? I mean,
Yeah, why do we want to do that?
yeah, why would you want to do that, you know?
Why would you want to put a restriction on allowing people the ability to vote, John?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you can get a license today, here's the thing. If you can get a license today, which I know in California you can,
Yes, in fact, saw a report on it.
you don't have to prove who you are. You don't have to prove that you're a citizen. You don't even have to prove where you live. You just have to write down and fill in the blanks, do whatever they tell you to do on the form, take the test and pass, and you get it. And out here in California, they'll ask you, I know they do it because they've done it to me, do you want to register to vote? Now, we have states like Oregon, I guess a couple of weeks ago, we reported on here, they do what? Mandatory now that you're going to be registered to vote. And then what you do now is you can opt out. You'll be registered to vote. They'll send you a form asking you what party you want to be in, and you can either choose at that time or you can opt out. Now, you know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen. Most people aren't even going to bother with that. So one of the things we know that happens, it was in Colorado, I believe, during the 2012 election, there are people that go through apartment buildings and dig through the trash and find mail-in ballots.
Yes, I remember seeing that. I remember that.
Yeah, and they take it down to whatever campaign headquarters needs the votes, and they fill those things out and they mail them in.
Well, here's another crazy thing, John, about this whole thing, this process you're talking about, is I remember after the attacks of 2001, the government put in place you need to have definite ID. You need to be able to go ahead and have this ID is exactly what it is. And so you had to be able to show that you are who you are. So you had to go, I know I had to renew my driver's license. I had to take a couple utility bills in. Right. I had to take my birth certificate that had a raised seal on it, along with a couple other IDs, just to show them I am who I am to get a driver's license.
Right, right.
So this just proves another ability of the government, another government program that really is just there for show and tell. It's not really doing what it's supposed to do.
No, it isn't. It isn't. And the DMV is becoming very much like some of the other departments. What the original intent and purpose of the department has been diluted, and it's been expanded on to cover other areas. And by doing that, they can squeeze in all this other stuff. Like putting the money for the illegals coming up across the border, running that through Homeland Security like a laundered account, and then designating that money for things other than because once it gets diluted into the rest of the funds, nobody's going to be able to really account for what it's being used for, and that is housing and transporting and feeding and health care for all these people coming across the border.
Yes.
Why we're, quote unquote, waiting to take them to a hearing to determine whether they're here legally or not.
Well, even then, John, we're training them in their homes, their countries of origin. We're training them to how to get around the system. We're training them to, if they are here, and we can train them to be, look, if you decide you can just become a union member, or you're doing union work, quote unquote, union activities, then they can't, because the ICE people said, we can't be messing with those people because that's a protected right.
Yeah, or like New York now, where you send a kid to school and they don't even ask where you live anymore.
No, yeah. You're here to show up to learn? Good for you, Johnny.
Yeah, because the humane thing to do is to just put you in school. And it doesn't matter whether you're here legally. It doesn't matter where you live. I remember growing up, it was such a big deal if somebody in a school district went to another school that was out of that district.
Well, usually it was done for sports.
Yeah. Well, and in the group I hung out with, there was some academic things to it. You could get a better opportunity for a scholarship if you came out of one high school over another. So, but what people would do is they basically, you had your grandma living in the right district, so they would use that address.
Yeah.